I was asked to do this, I figured I'd be in with a bunch of more knowledgeable others. So I wasn't sure what I could contribute, but I'll give you my take on some of the things that I do when I use online learning. So I love Collaborate. It's one of my most favorite things. In fact, I didn't buy into online learning until we were able to get some sort of interactive tool like Collaborate. And now I'm totally sold on online learning because of it. It's really changed my view on online learning. So I just want to give you a couple tips that I have found useful. I don't know how you all feel about how your students respond through Collaborate and have discussion, but many of my students opt to just type chat instead of talk through some sort of mic. And I always send out an email right away in my class. I have 2 emails stored in my folder. And this email tells them about equipment that they can buy if they want to use a mic, but most of them don't opt to use a mic. So I have changed my Collaborate to deal with this, because if you look here, this chat box is very, very short. And so I found that was not useful for me. So what I do, and this is going to be tricky because I'm not used to Apple. But what I do, it blocks the screen a little bit for me, but I take this and elongate it on the right side of my screen. I don't know if you all found that to be useful, but and I could work it better if it weren't Mac. But I have it completely covering this part of the screen so that I can see a very long discussion taking place, and that's really important to me. So I've always told people about that. But with Collaborate, one of the things that I try to push myself to do as often as possible, because sometimes I tend to be the sage on the stage too much. And so I want to get in some interactive types of things, and of course I've got a bunch of reading people who will totally understand this, but I'm not one, I use a lot of the flipped classroom, but I'm not one to assign a reading and not do anything with it before. So to me, when I have students read, it's very important that I activate their prior knowledge before they read it in some way, that I set a purpose for the reading, and I get them interested. These are 3 of my really, if you think about the cognitive variables in advanced ed psych or in any reading class, that's what we're always trying to do before we have kids read. And I have to buy into that because I really do believe that. So I have to teach like that as well. And also, we have the advantage through, I think Shane was one of the first ones who picked the book, of having a textbook author for our advanced ed psych class who really understands that notion too. So this became really easy for me. This has been the easiest course for me to do interactive book discussions because she already has, the author already has built into the text these interactive kind of things that you need to do with the text as you're reading it. What I did is took some of those and front-loaded them so that I was activating prior knowledge, setting a purpose, and getting them interested in the reading before they read. So let me show you what I did. I did what all of us reading people know as an anticipation guide. So I'm going to put this chat back over here. But my students in the East Lansing cohort are master students. They've taken ed psych before. A lot of our students have already taken an undergrad ed psych, so it's perfectly reasonable to activate their prior knowledge about certain ed psych things. And this was an actual interactive activity that was in her book already. So you don't even have to create a lot of these if you're in a book that really knows cognitive psychology really well. So I just took this out and placed it into Collaborate and had students decide whether these statements, children most effectively acquire new knowledge and skills in the first 3 years of life, as true or false. Now you can also create statements through an anticipation guide that are agree or disagree. So you can have them do either one. And then I go over here, and I use these a lot. I use these a lot. So I use this one for them to answer true or false. Do you all use the yes, no a lot? I use the yes, no constantly. Yeah. So if it's true, they would click yes, and if it's false, they would click no. And then I tell them, now I could only show one slide, but this was in 2 slides, because I think there were about 7 or 8 statements. But I tell them I want you to respond through either chat or the audio why you would mark that true or false to at least 2 of these. So I give them a kind of a guideline ahead of time that they are going to have to chat their responses to these, not just do true or false. But it gives the instructor a really good indication, because if they're all marking here, and by the way, you can see all the participants too if you take that chat off this side, right?
I have a quick question. I've run these for my 643. My default was just to give full permission. Like to say, treat as moderators, give full permission. And for the first time, I ran a Collaborate session the other day, and I just used all the defaults, and I realized I had to go back in and individually give them the permission. When you set up your classrooms, what do you do when you set up your Collaborate session?
I usually I don't set defaults. I usually set them up as I want them.
Okay, you go and individually, like, give them full permissions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Because there's certain times when I want to do that, certain times when I don't.
And sometimes I don't want them to see the responses. Sometimes there's ways you can participants see the responses or they know.
You can allow 3 microphones or 6 microphones.
You can increase that. The
Yeah.
default is 3 at a time. But yeah. And so that came up in my like, why are they suddenly breaking out? It's because they didn't realize that was a default and they hit the max. But sorry, thank you.
Yeah, because it depends on what you're doing.